From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, May the 9th, 2017. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas said today that he was ready to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu under the auspices of U.S. President Donald Trump's expected visit to the region later this month. President Trump announced late last week that he would visit Israel on May the 22nd, having accepted the invitation of Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump said he would use the visit to further strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship, as well as discuss a number of issues, including ways to advance the peace process with the Palestinians. Trump will also meet with Abbas during the trip. That visit is expected to take place on May the 23rd in Bethlehem. The president will begin his foreign travel in Saudi Arabia, then head to Israel and from there to the Vatican. During a meeting today with German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, Abbas told reporters, referring to the Trump visit, "We told him that we were ready to collaborate with him and meet the Israeli Prime Minister under his auspices to build peace." Steinmeier met yesterday with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem. And today, Netanyahu met with visiting U.S. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, who is in Israel as a guest of his Israeli counterpart, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot. The two were set to discuss cooperation and mutual security challenges. And Netanyahu and Dunford also greeted several hundred Jewish veterans of World War II who are in Jerusalem to mark VE Day. Several hundred veterans marched in the city today to commemorate the Allied victory over Nazi Germany. An official state ceremony in Jerusalem is scheduled to take place at the Monument of the Jewish Soldiers and Partisans on the Mount of Remembrance. Israel strongly condemned Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for remarks he made against the country. Turkish media cited Erdogan speaking at a forum in Istanbul, saying that Muslims need to visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque, known to Jews as the Temple Mount, more often, and that, quote, "each day that Jerusalem is under occupation is an insult to us," unquote. Palestinian media reported that Erdogan also discussed with Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah in Istanbul the, quote, necessity of unifying efforts to protect Jerusalem against attempts of Judaization, unquote. Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesman Emmanuel Nachshon said Israel consistently protects total freedom of worship for Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and will continue to do so despite the baseless slander launched against it. And the director of the Foreign Ministry spoke to the Turkish ambassador to Israel over the phone at the request of Prime Minister Netanyahu to clarify the comments made by Erdogan. President Rivlin said in response that there has been a Jewish majority in Jerusalem for the last 150 years. Rivlin's own family has lived in the city since 1809. During a meeting with Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, in Jerusalem, Rivlin said there is no doubt Jerusalem is a microcosm of our ability to live together, and we will continue to ensure freedom of religion for all faiths. And the holy sites of Jerusalem are now on display for all to see. Gulliver's Gate is now open in New York City's Times Square. And Jerusalem is one among the many produced replica miniature cities featured in the permanent exhibition, spearheaded by Israeli entrepreneur Eran Gazit. The project took about 10 years and tens of millions of dollars to complete and features the Western Wall, or Kotel, among other world-famous landmarks like the Taj Mahal and the Arc de Triomphe. The Paris Center for Peace and Innovation held a soccer tournament today in memory of its namesake. Ambassadors, diplomats, and other officials joined some 800 Jewish and Arab children in the opening round of a soccer tournament for peace in the city of Herzliya, in memory of the late President and Prime Minister Shimon Peres, who died last September. Peres' son Chemi said of his father, "Despite his absence, I feel his spirit and vision here on the pitch and in the eyes of the children, and I promise that we will continue to uphold his legacy." And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, May the 9th, at 7 o'clock, Jewish diversity is discussed at last year's General Assembly. At 8, Yedidia Koren of the Shalom Hartman Institute of North America talks about the role non-Jews can play in the Jewish community. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with playwright J.T. Rogers, who discusses and defends his choices in his depiction of the Oslo Accords, as portrayed in his most recent play, Oslo. At 10, Israeli diplomat Yossi Beilin recalls the secret back-channel negotiations between Israel and the PLO, which led to the Oslo Accords, and clarifies inaccuracies in J.T. Rogers' play. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, a conversation with IDF spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner on Israel's recent commemoration of its Memorial Day, Yom HaZikaron, and celebration of its Independence Day, Yom HaAtzmaut, when I sit in for Mark Golub on tonight's In the News at 6:30. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, May the 9th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader.